Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. Let's talk about Survivor 47, episode 11, and celebrate Sarah's birthday!
Yeah! It's my birthday! Welcome, everybody! But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.
And you can support us on patreon.com/nerdtainment if you like for Sarah's birthday.
Yes, give us a like for my birthday.
Yes.
David brought me a balloon.
Look at that. Happy birthday to you, it
I
says.
got gorgeous flowers.
From the patrons.
From you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, let's also talk about Survivor.
Let's do that. We are coming off of, this is what, days ago now, right? This is the right pre-Thanksgiving.
Pre-Thanksgiving. It was before
episode.
we were stuffed.
Yes.
We were starving back then.
Yes. You were a whole different age back then.
I was so much younger.
Yeah.
I was so much younger.
But coming off of Gabe's elimination, which Kyle was in on, but he's still sad that his number one is gone. You know, he had to do it.
I don't know. I was like, are we just pretending right now?
Well, because I was like, how sad are you? You voted. It was your idea.
You brought it up.
You pitched
were
it
like,
first.
Let's make sure this happens.
Yeah. But I think Kyle's just kind of not so built for the cutthroat part of this game. So I do think he was like, ooh, that wasn't particularly fun. I'd rather just win immunities and not go home and not have to take these shots at people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Everyone is on damage control with Sue, though, because Sue was left out of the vote.
Thank you, everybody.
Rachel and Caroline specifically. Rachel first is like, she's like walking on eggshells. I don't know if you really want to be talked to right now, but like I do want to say like it couldn't be you and it couldn't be Caroline. We had to get someone from Tuco.
Yeah.
It was Gabe.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be the thing of like we know Sue's gonna be upset. And Sue is upset.
And she is.
I mean, she genuinely lost her number one.
She's like, I'm gonna take everyone down, starting with Kyle.
OMG. She's like, did you know? Did you vote? Did you? Well, I sure better get Kyle. I was like, what? You just, what?
Everybody betrayed you.
Yeah, but let's go back to Kyle there for a minute. Yeah.
But the next morning, Caroline is still working on Sue. Because Caroline's like,
she needs to.
Yeah. She's like, head on the shoulder. Sue's a little still ice queen. Like, the body language is not there. And Caroline's like, it's important that we talk. And Sue's like, is it important that we talk? She's still a little bitter. But I think Caroline does a good job of kind of spilling her guts to Sue, and Sue ultimately hears her. Initially, she's like, I don't like non-loyal people, Caroline, and I'm not saying I don't like you, but you are not loyal, so take from that what you will.
You might be in that category.
Yeah. And Caroline's like, look, I wanted to play Survivor since I was a girl, and I feel like I was playing Gabe's game and not my game, and she just like word vomits enough, I think, where Sue is like, okay, I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole package here we got about Caroline was very lovely.
Yeah.
What an interesting perspective. I don't relate to that, so I loved hearing her childhood and her thoughts and what it means to her to be here on Survivor. And, you know, you really do have to go deep with who you have been working with closely and you just betrayed. Like, you really do have to go all in. And it does seem like Sue eventually bought into it.
Eventually she is, receptive to it. She's like, okay, you explained yourself enough. Like, let's still work together. I mean, I'm glad Sue got around to this because, like, ultimately, it's not going to serve her well to go scorched earth and like turn on everybody. Like, you've got to figure out. I mean,
it's not, but that's what she's been doing the whole season is just scorched Kyle.
Scorched Kyle.
So I don't know that she knows any different.
She's still there, by the way. She's still going to hold that grudge against Kyle.
David, before we go further, last week's episode was titled this. Can you read this right here?
Loyal to the soil?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't say soil. That's not how we say it in the South.
Oh, so you're saying it does not rhyme with loyal.
It didn't rhyme. So last week I was struggling with this title. I was like, why is it loyal to the soul? Like that doesn't rhyme.
Soul?
In the South, we say soul.
How do you say
bull? It's all the same. Don't even go through it.
But what about like tin?
Foil.
Full?
Yes! This is how we say it in the South.
So double, blank, and trouble.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Toll?
Oh. It's all oh. That's how you say it. And my husband, Douglas, has made fun of me for our entire relationship that I say it wrong. And I'm like, no, get out of my face. And then when I finally was like, I had to say it in my head so many times.
Loyal to the
and
soul.
I realized, oh, wait a minute. It's written like everybody else says it.
Loyal to the soil.
Loyal to the soil. I think that that's a weird... I'm like, why are there so many syllables? Soil.
2 whole syllables in soil.
Soul. It's 1 syllable. Loyal to the soul, and it doesn't rhyme.
Okay, now that you bring it up, I do want to say, and you were guilty of this, Saul's name is not Soul. And you said Soul almost the whole time he was in the game.
It's Soul.
No.
Like the sun. S-O-L.
No. It's short for Solomon. So it's Saul. And I heard you saying soul, and I was like, oh, she just says it wrong. Like, whatever. And I've heard other people say it wrong, too, by the way, because I think you look at it and you're like...
Are they all saying Saul on the show?
Yeah, because it's short for Solomon.
David, you got to tell me these things before I talk to them.
I'm just going to let you say anything you want as soul. Anything you want.
I was saying it like the sun.
Yeah.
David,
short for
this
Solomon.
is my life, though. Douglas is always correcting me because we don't say things correctly in the South. I say things wrong all the time. All right, well, that was fun. Good times. It's all. Glenn, it's all.
All?
Yes. Bowl peanuts. With that, it is what it is.
I thought you were saying bowl peanuts. You're saying boil.
Oil. I can't do 2 syllables. Oil. It just feels weird.
Oh, no.
Boil.
I'm going to sit with that one for a while. That's going to haunt me. Oh, my Lord. Well.
Okay, anyway, back to Survivor.
We are at the well. And here we see this fivesome come together.
Yes, our underdogs.
That we saw in the preview last week. Where it's like Rachel, Andy, and
it's going to start with the 3.
Teeny, right?
Andy, Teeny, Rachel, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay. What do we do? And then they're like, oh, here they come. And it's Sue and Caroline. But turns out this little fivesome is going to look around and be like, huh, okay, we might have something here because we are the underdogs, even though now we're the majority. But we're the ones who people haven't been taking seriously.
Yeah.
People haven't been taking us seriously. And they're thinking, specifically about Sam and Kyle back at camp and Genevieve, who have sort of been like masterminds / physical threats. And they're like, we're going to come together and we're going to run this now. And...
It's so true, Autumn. Thank you. I'm going to wear my high heels.
Heels.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is a great idea. I love this 5. I love this thought. But...
You do love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, for their games, this is very smart. But, you never know. Sue and Caroline kind of walk up and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't really know how real we are with it, but this is great.
They're saying so. And I do think it's a smart idea. We've got the other 3 back at camp and they're kind of like,
yeah.
Where is everyone?
Okay, so they are also smart because they're picking up on it immediately.
They're like, it's one of us.
Yep.
Clearly, Genevieve's laying it right out there. She's like, Kyle, you are the number 1 physical threat. Sam, you are obviously the second. And I orchestrated the Saul vote. And so we're all toast unless we can figure out how to break up that 5. They see what's happening.
Yeah, they do. Very smart. They know that 5 should band together to get them out. They see it.
Yeah.
How can they protect each other, work with each other, and keep that from happening?
Yeah. And Genevieve, I love this edit that we get from her. And actually, I love how she's sort of where she is headspace-wise right now in the game. I just loved seeing this from her, this episode. Because in this moment, she's kind of saying, like, I want to work with Kyle and Sam. But she's stopping short of calling it an alliance.
Yeah.
Because she's talking about how hard it's been to sort of develop genuine connection with people and then vote them out. And Keyshawn is kind of the example that she cites early on in the game that really seems to have had an effect on her to the point where now she's like, I need to like compartmentalize and like, I don't want to know you. I don't want to like you. I just want to play this game. And she says, I would rather be a villain that people don't connect with than your friend who crushed your dream. And I'm like, that is such a more thoughtful reason for being a villain, whereas my reason for being a villain is just that I am a villain.
Yeah, no, you're just naturally. You're like, I'm just cranky.
But I love that as kind of like a mental strategy for how to navigate the game.
Yeah, I loved all of this because after we hear from Genevieve, we're going to also hear from Sam and Kyle. And this whole segment was kind of like how we've had to evolve in the game.
Yeah.
Right? How we've had to learn what we need to do and how we protect ourselves from it. And I thought this was fascinating.
Me too.
Because we don't get this as much as we'll get like packages about their childhood or whatever. And those are fine.
Yeah.
But seeing how someone has to process
Yes.
being in this game and hurting people, being strategic, starving, like
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
It really is, because I feel like we've seen it in seasons where there are like returning players.
Yes.
Because they go home and they're
Yeah.
destroyed and they are processing what they did to people and what they had to do to win the million or whatever. But Genevieve's in the midst of the game and figuring that out and trying to protect herself while she's playing.
Yeah, and I think it's dangerous because
I agree.
it's really hard to connect with people and therefore get their vote
That's
in the
right.
end
Yeah.
if you are keeping everyone at arm's length. So, like, I understand she heard Keyshawn say, I trusted you, and she was like, oh no, that hurts. Don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
She puts up a wall, but then you don't necessarily get those votes in the end.
And
That's
how can
tough.
you really build any sort of coalition of people who like
Right.
trust you and want to work with you
Yes.
unless you're really putting yourself out there? It's such a hard line to walk.
Yeah.
Sam, meanwhile, is like, well, being honest is working for me.
Yeah.
And it turns out I just need to come out and say exactly how I feel. And I'm like, I think that can work sometimes. I
Yeah.
don't think that always works
No.
for people. But I think Sam's at a point where he's sort of second threat to Kyle. And so I think people are just sort of discounting him a little bit, right? He's like outside the majority. And so I think for his particular position in the game right now, yes, I think being honest does work for him.
Yeah, because he kind of got, once he lost Sierra, he kind of got pushed to the side, and they were like, we don't take him seriously anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, Andy, he, on the other hand, has the best relationships out there, and he has the power.
The way this
like,
edit.
Well, this was a juxtaposition.
He's like, I mean, he's algorithm, he's AI, he's numbers, and he's just like analyzing this game from like data points and all of this stuff. And he's running the data and deciding that he has the best relationships with Genevieve, Kyle, and Sam, right? No one's paying attention to them, but I have the best relationships with them. And now I've got this little 5 from the well. So I'm just moving these game pieces. I am the chess master and I'm running this game.
Okay.
They keep having him say it.
Yep.
And I just am not seeing
I mean, I'm still waiting.
I'm waiting.
Because this is now like the 7th edit.
Yeah.
Telling us he's in this power
But
position.
I need you to show us.
But I do need to see it. And I was like, okay, maybe he does have really good relationships with each person one-on-one.
Right.
I don't know that they're the best, but he might have really good ones because people have sort of been discounting him.
Yeah.
But what... Do you really have the power because of it?
Well, let's keep going
Question
because
mark?
he does have a plan later.
But first we're going to get a boat.
A boat. And we're going to go on a journey, of course. And there's all this sort of like hemming and hawing about who's going to go and who's not.
Right.
And the message says if you can't agree, you're going to draw rocks. Obviously, Sam and Genevieve want to go because they don't have power. I'm not sure why Kyle doesn't want to go.
I think because he was like, I've already put a massive target on my back. Let me try to pretend
I'm like,
don't look over here.
You are out of options, sir.
But yeah,
you
if you
should have
don't
put
win,
yourself up
you
for that
might
journey.
need that, yeah.
But he doesn't. And then Rachel kind of throws her hat in the ring last second because she's like, well, I don't want Sam or Genevieve to win an advantage. I don't
that was
need
so
this.
interesting. Because she was like, I don't really need to go, but
Yeah.
do we want them to go? And you're like, no, you don't want them to go.
No.
Very smart of you, Rachel.
And so she stops them from going. She's like, give me that purple rock.
She got it. She manifested that real quick.
So she's
going to
goes on the boat.
Yeah.
She's not going to an island. She's
No.
going into the middle of the ocean.
Middle of the ocean. We got a setup here. Of course, a very dramatic setup.
Of course.
Because it's Survivor.
Yeah.
We're going to learn about this puzzle, which is not a terribly difficult puzzle. And I'm thinking Rachel is a puzzle master.
Puzzle queen.
She's fine
We've
with this.
seen it.
But producers were like, we shall entertain you. This timer situation.
Loved it.
What the heck? So dramatic.
I know. And this was what was really weighing on Rachel. Is she's like, I know I can do this puzzle.
Sure.
But I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I don't know how fast these weights are going to drop and how fast this table is literally going to be ripped into the ocean by these dropping anchors. But she goes for it.
Gotta go for it.
And I'm like, she's going to do it. Rachel is going to do this.
I had full faith in her, but I was so tense because of this timer thing. And she's saying, like, I cannot keep looking over.
Right.
I have got to focus on the puzzle.
That is the trick. You have to, again, compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Ignore the weights.
Yeah.
And just focus on these colored balls that you're moving around in front of you.
But it's like, la, 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 and then it's like, plop
Boom.
into the ocean. And then when it's going to be done, the whole thing is just going to fly off.
Yeah.
And disturb the sea.
I'm like, look
what?
at the weights long enough that your hands aren't stuck in the puzzle when it gets ripped off of the platform, please. But she does it just in the nick of time. It's such a dramatic edit because she finishes it, grabs the advantage, and then the thing goes off into the water.
Flying into the ocean.
Yeah.
I was just like, producers really outdid themselves here.
But
way to go, Rachel. Congrats.
Rachel is stacking up these advantages here because she already has the idol that nobody knows about, right?
Right.
And now she's got this advantage. She's going to go back to camp, and she's like, I'm gonna be 99% honest.
Yes.
I'm going to tell them all about the puzzle.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell them that I lost my vote.
Of course.
And Sam's like, a likely story.
I like it. That's exactly what I would have said. Yeah, it's real tough. Especially, she doesn't win an idol, right?
No.
She gets an advantage about blocking a vote. That she can keep till 6 players.
And the person whose vote is blocked will not know who blocked it, so long as you keep this a secret.
Right. So you got to kind of keep that a secret, but it works against her because she does have an idol, because now everyone could just assume she has an idol, right?
True.
Going on a journey.
Oh, that's fair.
So it's a little complicated, but I think she plays it the best she possibly can.
She does. She tells
the important people
to
her game.
She tells Andy and Teeny, right? And then she also tells Sue and Caroline. Doesn't she just tell the whole 5
Did she
some?
end up actually telling Sue and Caroline?
She definitely told Sue, because remember, Sue was like,
oh, yeah.
Now, Rachel, I trust you unconditionally because Gabe came to me at the beginning of the game and he told me about the Beware advantage. And so I know that you actually trust me. I think Rachel had no idea what she was doing. Winning Sue's unconditional loyalty by telling her this information. But it's the best move she could have made.
And then Caroline, at 100%. And Caroline was like, oh, great. She's more of a threat now that she has this advantage.
Caroline is coming for Rachel at some point,
she
for
really
sure.
Is. She's been holding on to that for a while. Good on Rachel. She handles that, I think, as well as she can. Sue's now her best friend.
Right.
We see Rachel and Genevieve when Genevieve does her best pitch.
I liked this.
At taking out the goat.
Genevieve is thinking about things the right way. I think she kind of is soft pitching this idea to Rachel. Little does she know that Rachel is she is Rachel's number 1 target. But, she's saying, Rachel, let me just make a pitch.
Yeah.
You and I, we're good at this game. We deserve to sit at the end. Don't you want to take a shot at someone who's being dragged to the end? Those seats are being taken from us. So why don't we get those goats out of here? And yes, I'm talking about Sue and Andy.
I love that she named Sue and Andy because we need to know who they think are goats, right? It's not always the same who we think are goats.
They're in agreement with us that Andy's a goat.
I was like, uh-oh, Andy.
Sorry about it.
Your power position might just be a goat.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone wants to drag Sue to the end. She's absolutely no argument there is a goat. So I love that Genevieve tries this. You got to try.
You got to try.
And it is a valuable pitch because you do want to take out some of the goats.
Yeah. And I think she's kind of looking for, she knows she's got Kyle and Sam. I think she's kind of looking for that crack, right?
Yeah, right.
Someone that she could pull over. And I think she's just sort of hoping that Rachel respects the appeal to like a fellow power player kind of a thing. But Rachel doesn't. And she goes right to Andy. And she's like, Genevieve wants you to take you out. She says, you're a goat. And Andy's like, oh, well, this is not the first time she's brought up my name.
Oh, you can't tell Andy he's a goat. He just sat with the producer. Yeah. Andy was in charge. And then he hears he's a goat. Oh.
No. That's rocking his world.
You know that stabbed him to the core.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He will not stand for that.
No, he will not.
So he's going to take that right to the immunity challenge and give a speech about how, I remember standing here, day 3. Because Sue is basically, given her speech. And Andy's like, Jeff, I relate to what Sue's saying right now because this place is oh so familiar to me. When I had a meltdown on day 3 and it's all about the comeback and he's got a lot to say at the beginning of this immunity challenge.
But didn't Kyle start it?
Did he?
I don't know. I watched this so many days ago. But is this when Kyle started talking about his family or something?
Maybe.
And then Sue started to get emotional. Right? Does Sue get emotional here?
Well, she didn't at Tribal, so it must have been here.
I believe she gets emotional. And at first I was like, is she just crying because Kyle is talking?
She's like, sound of his voice.
She's like, if he tells his sad story one more time.
If I have to hear about he's poor.
That's what I think. I think that's why she was crying. But Jeff was like.
Tears of rage.
Sue, I have to ask you, you're getting emotional. And she was like, well, I can't say that. So I have to say something else, a little more thoughtful. So then she tells her story. And then Andy was like, let me trump all of you guys. Yeah.
So Jeff's like, okay, thanks for those speeches. We're going to play the immunity stacking puzzle. And we've seen this many, many times.
We love it.
Saw a new little thing that I don't remember seeing before at the very beginning. And Jeff calls it out where he's like, oh, everybody's taking a moment to organize their letters in reverse order before they start.
Usually one person does it.
Mm-hmm.
But this,
everybody got the memo.
We've learned.
Yeah.
That it's smart to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to have a good time with this because people are going to stack and drop.
Jeff specifically calls out like, Teeny, moving slow.
Yeah.
Tortoise in the hair vibe. She is hoping for everybody else to drop and so she can have a come from behind victory. And that's exactly how they edit this, where Teeny's moving, inching along, and then everybody falls in front of her, and it's like, Teeny, just what she wanted. Is she going to pull out the win? But no, she is also going to drop.
That did not happen, yeah. Then we kind of just do, like, Sue's in the lead drop. Andy's in the lead drop.
Everybody who's got the lead is dropping now. So we're back to where we started. And then we sort of end up with Rachel and Genevieve at 7 letters each out of this 8-letter word. Kyle's at 6. So it's this 3-way race with Kyle, I think knowing that he needs to win immunity, but he's behind Genevieve and Rachel. Genevieve similarly is like, I gotta win this, I gotta go slow. But Genevieve drops. Mm-hmm. So now it's Rachel versus Kyle. Yeah. Rachel is literally moving in slow motion after she places her final letter. And
this was so tense.
The way they edit Kyle making this comeback, and she has placed her final letter and is inching back to the platform. And the way they showed it, I don't know if this is just how it cut together, but Kyle went all the way out and placed his final letter and then was almost catching up to her on the way back.
I was like, Rachel, if you see Kyle start to pass you, you've got to pick up the pace. But we don't. So we do get a nice shot where you see her and then him behind. So you can see he hasn't quite gotten up to her yet. Yeah. And I was like, let me keep this view because she is like, I can't go any faster. But like, oh my God.
She's trusting her lead and Jeff is like literally counting the steps that she has to take to get back to her platform.
And I'm like, we've seen Kyle win
100%.
these things that I don't think necessarily take the skill. Like, they're kind of random. I forget what the last one is that he won, but it was like, he didn't have to win that.
Right.
But he did, because he's apparently super lucky, which made me think Rachel was going to just
it was
draw.
the ball balancing one that he won.
Yes.
It was just kind of luck. Yeah.
Right. I was like, Rachel's just going to drop out
I
of
thought
the
so,
blue.
too.
Wind whip through.
I thought so too.
But no.
But no.
She pulled it out.
Rachel's going to add to her resume again and get her first individual immunity win of the season.
And at this point, you would think, oh, good, Kyle's not giving David all the points anymore. And then you would say, never mind, he also has Rachel on his team. So David did really well in this episode.
Yeah, I was pleased about that. So this is her first win, though, right?
Yes.
And she gives a nice speech about her husband is so much more patient than she is, and she was hearing him in her ear.
Oh, that's
she was
so cute.
I was like, you really heard him in your ear on the way back because you were being patient and going very slowly.
It was a little too much patience.
But she still pulls it out, and Teeny's like, it's time to get Kyle. This guy's a goner. And I'm agreeing, but I'm like holding on to my hope that little edit trick where like the first person that you throw out is never the way it really goes in the vote. I'm like, ooh, please let that be true and let me, maybe they'll get Genevieve this time.
Yeah, I'm like, well, Kyle's obviously not going. All right, who's it going to be here? But, of course, Kyle is the easy vote back at camp. That is, of course, how it's going to start.
But then Rachel, I think, is like, but when someone's the easy vote, is that the time to blindside somebody else?
Is it?
And she's basically like, Kyle, Sam, Genevieve, they all gotta go.
Yeah,
I don't care the order.
What? Who cares?
Yeah.
Just take them all out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sue is drooling.
Frothing at the mouth.
This is the time.
She has been waiting patiently.
She's like, whatever.
This is her moment.
Here we go. Ain't nothing gonna stop me from writing Kyle's name down. And honestly, I was like, yeah, no one's gonna be able to convince her otherwise.
Yeah. No.
Like, this is it.
This is the moment she has been waiting for. Genevieve is like feeling powerless. Like, I don't even know what I could say or to whom at this point. I think she's kind of like, I just need to sit back quietly and pray to the survivor gods that Kyle is a bigger threat than me.
Well, yes. Genevieve and Sam both are like, well, we don't want to lose Kyle, but like, what can we do?
Right. But this is like why you keep shields.
They try to pull in Teeny.
They do.
As if like that's their only hope.
Yeah. Because Genevieve already tried Rachel.
Yeah.
And I think she realizes that. Probably fell on deaf ears.
I kind of love that Teeny was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
And please, you don't either.
Yeah, I would love it if y'all didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, well.
I'd really prefer you not.
That's
and they're
quite
like,
the ask.
Okay, well, I guess we'll do Kyle then.
Yeah.
Kyle, meanwhile, is like, well, I've been out here winning these now I'm doing a song.
Oh, yeah, that went southern.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I've been
wow.
out here winning these immunities.
Winning them.
And I guess I gotta try to get my social game going.
Yeah, get that social game going, Kyle.
It's too late.
It's a little too late.
But it doesn't stop him from laying next to Andy in the hammock. And I guess Andy's now taking advantage of these super tight relationships he has with these shields in the game. But Kyle is like, Andy, what if we do something else? And Andy's like, maybe we get Genevieve first. Because he's
in the power position.
And he's got a grudge.
Genevieve
called him a goat.
I mean,
okay.
Fair.
I'll show you.
Yep.
Andy, I'm going to flip this thing on you, Genevieve.
Andy has a plan. Let's flip it. Let's get out Genevieve. Let's keep Kyle. And then Andy is going to proceed to math that does not math.
He's going to math everybody to death in Survivor. And Caroline is indignant about it. He's like, Kyle's run is not that impressive. And I'm like, I know someone who would agree with that because she won't even give him credit for all of his immunity wins.
I do not.
But Andy's like, the odds that he is going to win every single immunity for the rest of the game, 6.25%. And Caroline's like, 6.2, shut up. I don't want to hear it.
She is like, what are you talking about? Are you seriously trying
She's
to
like,
pitch to me that Kyle is not a comp threat?
She's just staring at him blankly.
And Andy's like, what are the odds he's gonna win again?
No.
As if it's a random thing. And I'm like, it's not complete random. This isn't like
there's
we throw
so many
a ball.
variables in immunity challenges.
Pulling a rock. The odds are blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about someone who is proven to do well at the challenges. And you think you can tell people, ain't gonna happen anymore, though. I mean, sure, it's happened 3.5, 4.5 times, whatever it is.
Ignore the past.
Don't.
I'm talking about the future.
Yes.
And the future is 6.25%. And it's a whole crew around Andy, and they're all just kind of like,
Yeah. Who is it? Like, one person.
Teeny
Oh, it's
is
Rachel.
there.
Rachel's like,
there.
I do like Genevieve. We can take Genevieve out. That's fine. Like, Rachel has no problem with it. But, like, Sue and Caroline are like, what are you saying? No.
Andy, no. So, I just think maybe that's evidence that Andy's not exactly in the crushing power position he thinks he's in right now.
We're just going by the edit, guys.
Yeah.
Edit tells us Andy's in power and everyone else says no.
So Andy walks out of this conversation and he's like, well, I have a plan. I just still have to convince everyone of it. And we're going to tribal.
Yeah.
Which I'm not convinced that he's convinced anyone.
No. And literally, I love that Caroline to camera was like, 6%? Where did that even come? Like, she's doing completely different math.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to go into tribal. Not 100% sure which one's going, but
I'd say 96.25%
also
sure.
not convinced it shouldn't be Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle, early on is like, I'm in the hot seat. And Sue's like, ugh, rolling her eyes as soon as Kyle starts talking.
She's like, do I have to sit here and listen to him still?
This better be the last time
Oh my God.
I have to hear this man's voice.
But I do appreciate that he's like, look, what are the odds I'm going to win in the end? People win comps all the time and do not win the game. And I was like, yes, go
Andy's
with
like,
that.
what are the odds you say?
Well,
Let me just run some numbers.
I'd say 2% that you win the game because I am 98%. That's what he was thinking.
And Teeny's like, look, Jeff, there are physical outward threats. There are also strategic outward threats, Genevieve. And then there are underdogs like myself. And, that's what this is really all about this time is the underdogs, Jeff. And Jeff is like, Genevieve. I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, is she displeased or is she thinking? And she's like, both.
She was in a place.
Yeah.
She's like, I hear them talking about me, even if they're not saying my name. Like, I know what they're referring to.
When you're talking about that threat, who's a strategic threat, who has their voice heard, she's talking about me.
Yeah, that's me.
And the problem is that once you're stamped as a threat in this game, you can't wash it off. It's a scarlet letter.
Yep.
It is tough. I would point to Rachel right now as someone who was like everybody's number one to vote out for a couple of tribals in a row. And now she's in a different place.
Absolutely.
I don't know that she's like fully through that, but for the moment she is. But Genevieve's really sitting in that like discomfort of like, please, 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 I've kept Kyle as a shield. Please let the shield work, And she's just sort of like silent for the most part, unless Jeff is like forcing her to talk during this tribal council.
Yeah. I did enjoy the conversation. I thought this was actually a valid conversation because we've been getting so much fluff in the last few seasons.
Oh, yeah.
But this is valid. People are making great points. And to be fair, Genevieve and Kyle are both absolute threats that should be taken out.
100%. But I thought the amount of camera time Genevieve was getting suggested that they were going to flip it on her, because then she goes into this whole thing about, I'm half wondering about how I can make it through tonight, and then I'm half wondering about how would I make it through tomorrow. Like, is this pointless? Is there any game left for me to play? And Caroline's like, well, Jeff, let me cite one of my favorite tribal council quotes.
Right?
The great survivor players can... what is it? Listen beyond the noise to hear the news or something like that. And Jeff's like, who said that? And she's like, Genevieve.
This one right back here. And Genevieve was like, oh, thank you.
I think she was genuinely touched.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I was like, wait, I meant to rewind it and write it down because I didn't write it down. But I was like, I got to write that down. That was a good quote. And did we get it in the previous edit?
I know. I didn't go back and look.
We might not have heard it because I was like, this is new to me.
Yeah.
But it was a good quote. And I wasn't quite sure what Caroline's game was in that moment.
Right.
Except
is she just like throwing her a bone, kind of?
Maybe
like, don't
to say,
give up?
like, don't worry, it's not you tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I think Genevieve was like, I know you're still coming for me, but thank you for the kind words.
Yeah.
You know, and Caroline is like, I mean it. Like,
and Caroline's also like, I just want everyone to know that Genevieve said that.
Right.
So even though I'm throwing her a bone right now, come final tribal, y'all just remember.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then Genevieve continues to talk about separating the person from the player, but how people have still been able to, access who she is as a person. And it's just a really interesting edit that we're getting from Genevieve. Again, I think she's been one of the most thoughtful, intelligent players of the season, and she's just giving us more great material as viewers here. Sue, meanwhile, is like, well, I think that everyone here is making up their own mind, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it.
And she's like, can we just go ahead and do it, please? We are going to do it. So we get our votes. We're going to get the one for Genevieve.
Yeah.
Then we're going to get Kyle.
Yeah, as expected.
Then we're going to get a teeny vote. And people are like, Then we're going to get a Kyle. Mm-hmm. And from there, Kyle's like, oh, I see.
It's him. And he's like, line him up. We're going to take him down. Gives everybody a hug.
Stands up. Hugs every single person.
Even Sue. Starts with Sue.
Yeah. He's saying complimentary things up, down, left, right, and center.
He's so grateful.
So grateful. He's going to be thankful to Jeff.
Wants a hug from Jeff on the way out. Thanking them all for their friendship, for their respect, for, loving his family. You know, it's like... Gabe is literally like, this man is a hero.
Yeah, jury's over there being like...
Sierra's like, he's a better man than I am.
Better man than me, yeah. What a gentleman. I honestly, I love this because, I mean, it's fun to see people get mad and be like, how dare you, I hate you all, and leave. That's understandable. But for someone to genuinely take that much time to show gratitude was so lovely to watch.
Truly. Ultimate sportsman.
Exactly. And then the next thought I had was, Sue, your entire edit was hating this man who just made the nicest exit of Survivor
When
history.
I tell you, if the Sia prize still existed, there has never been more of a slam dunk for a player to win that $100,000. Unfortunately, he's not going to. Maybe Sia will come out of retirement and gift him this because this was amazing. But yeah, Sue's been like, this man is trash the whole season, and he gets maybe the best exit that we've seen in seasons.
I could not believe that that's how his journey ended, and we've been watching her trash him this whole time. And then, seriously, cut to her right there. She's like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's like, I did it.
He's gone, guys.
Got him out. You're all welcome.
That horrible person is gone. Meanwhile, they're like, hero. Absolute hero.
Everybody loves him. Everybody's smiling and just it's like warm and fuzzies as Kyle's on his way out of the game. So fun to watch him play. Glad that he really sort of delivered on the immunity front because I don't think he really had much of a social game to speak of. We definitely didn't see it in the edit.
Other than they just thought he was a nice person. Right.
But he wasn't like a strategic mastermind orchestrating moves.
Strategic. And he fell on Sue's bad side, which was not helpful for his original tribe.
Right.
But yeah, I loved him. I loved him from the beginning.
So
he
fun.
Was so fun.
Yep.
So lovely.
And I'm disappointed that I'll lose all the points that he could have gotten me in the end.
Well, he got you plenty.
He got me plenty.
You're doing just fine. I do get to talk to him tomorrow. It was postponed because of Thanksgiving. So if you have any questions that you would like me to ask him, please let me know.
Ask him if he thinks he has an accent.
I know. And are you offended at what David did?
I hope not.
For your accent, Kyle.
Yeah, I hope not. It's all in fun. So the next preview for next time, we hear something about the final 4 women, which I thought was interesting because as the tribe is walking out of this tribal council, I was like, I know there's no women's alliance formally this season, but there's been a lot of talk about it, and we are now down to 7 with 5 women and 2 men.
Only 2 men left.
So obviously Genevieve is the one woman who's left out of this, final 4 plan.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting that this is where we are with the numbers here. And we are also seeing Genevieve maybe put together a fake idol in the preview.
Yes, there is definitely a fake idol happening. And Sam seems to be in on it.
And Andy.
Oh, Andy was there too?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm sure Andy's the mastermind behind the whole thing if he had his way.
He is in the power position.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you guys, thank you for joining us on a Sunday. Thank you for all the birthday wishes.
Yes.
I hope if you are American, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And you guys in the chat, I appreciate you being here.
Yes, and if you're joining us later, please give Sarah some birthday love in the comments, belatedly, and let us know how you feel about Kyle leaving the game. Is there any way for Genevieve to make it through at this point? And what do you think about a Final 4 women's alliance? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, why do you think Kyle voted for Teeny?
Because I think he just wasn't clued in on anything.
Didn't know what was happening.
Poor guy.
Didn't want to vote for
Genevieve? I guess.
Yeah. You guys, guess what? I turned older than Sue. That's my birthday. I turned older than Sue. So.
Leave it at that.
Yep. She's only 45.
She's only 45.
Yep. Okay.
Great.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.